Imagine relearning how to walk, using the right side of your face, your arm, your leg, your whole entire right side. Talking used to be a breeze. Now it is difficult to think of some words. But these are just the beginning of my problems from surgery. But at least I'm alive. That is the most important thing from all this. I am alive. I can walk on my own, talk on my own. I can make my own decisions. But I am not who I used to be. I am a veteran from the United States Air Force Security Forces. My name is Travis Turner. I'm a brain tumor survivor, and this is my story.
The first time that I was informed that you had a tumor was 3 o'clock in the morning on January 3rd, 2014. You had called me from Henry Ford Macomb emergency room and told me you had brain cancer. And I told you at that time that they didn't know you had brain cancer unless they had did a biopsy. You were extremely upset. And during that time, your dad was working, and I said, I can't come right now, but as soon as your dad comes home from work, we will be up to the hospital. Then we arrived to Henry Ford Macomb emergency room. You were on the neurological floor at about 11 o'clock, where we met a neurologist. And he had done some tests on you because you had driven yourself to the hospital. You had a major seizure. You couldn't speak, and they did a CAT scan and found a huge tumor tucked underneath your brain. I'm going to try and get through this without crying because it's difficult. So when Travis had his seizure in my house, his cat would jump on his head, and he ended up on the floor, and our black lab pushed him up on the side, and the whole time he was flopping around, the animals stayed on him until pretty much the ambulance got here, and then I had to pry the animals off and put them in another room. I went up to the hospital every night after work. I worked the entire time. I would stay there until I made sure you had eaten, you were cleaned up, you had medication, and I didn't leave until you fell asleep. So a lot of times I didn't leave McLaren until 9 o'clock at night, and then I'd have to get up at 5 to be at work the next day. Your dad would be up at the hospital in the morning, and he would come at lunch. They wanted to put you in a nursing home, and I told them no. And the lady persisted to give me a list to put you in a nursing home, and I told her, you're 25, you're not going in a nursing home. You came home with us the first time, and your wound that was here was still oozing, and they told me to give you a shower. Well, we saw open skull, and then we were home an hour. I had to put a shower cap on you and get you back to the emergency room again. And your dad almost had a stroke, which your dad ended up going on stress leave. I continued to work. You were in the hospital again 2 more weeks approximately. They placed a PICC line in you. We brought you back home. We got educated on how to do a PICC line. I had to, because you had came home from the hospital with all the sticky marks all over you, so I had to give you a baking soda bath. You had a burn on the back of your back, which was from the cooling packet, which is just something that happened. It was a 3rd-degree burn that I had to slowly debride and put some burn medication on, wrap it, make sure your wounds on your head were wrapped correctly, and all your oral medications were given. Every 8 hours we were changing a PICC line, and I was taking your temperature on a regular basis, keeping a log, because I found out any wound on your head is the hardest place to get rid of infection. When you first came home the whole right side of your face, your eye. Your arm wasn't as strong as what it should be, but the whole right side of your face didn't work at all, and they weren't sure if any of that was going to come back. That was just part of time. We had to wait to see whether or not your vision was going to come back in your right eye, which is not fully back. Your hearing, you just got a hearing aid, which is, thank God, you're able to get a hearing aid. We found out Travis could never have ear surgery because his anatomy isn't like it used to be. I mean, he's got a plate in the side of his head. You have a bone, and behind the bone is your brain, so that's not how most of our anatomy is set up. So we did find out that. Getting to the table, getting in and out of the tub, just making it to the toilet was something we had to help him with, because if his plate was here, the salt was over here. A lot of times there was food everywhere, which I didn't really care. Salt was everywhere, pepper was everywhere. He just could not make the contact from the food to the plate to his mouth a lot of times. Or brushing your teeth, sometimes you had a hard time getting the toothbrush just to your mouth. I would have to help you with that. The problems that you still currently have are with migraines, ocular migraines, nerve pain, fatigue. Sometimes you have insomnia. Sometimes you get agitated, and then it's hard to get in check with your emotions. Sometimes you can't think of a word, which you never were like that before. I mean, I don't understand military, Air Force. I mean, you're the one that decided to join the Air Force. You came home and told us that, didn't consult us. I mean, not that it would have made a difference, because we're not military people. Something you really, really wanted to do and loved doing. After you became sick, and we would have to go down to the base, and we'd have to be there 8 o'clock in the morning. We'd have to leave here an hour and a half before to drive down there, because we're away from base. We would start at one building, and they would give us a copy that looked like a piece of paper with information that was copied 200 times, and we would have to run around literally base until 5 o'clock and get it signed by different people, which I cannot believe in this day and age they can't do stuff computerized. So we would run around all day long and be exhausted, and then by the end of the day they would say, oh, you need to take it back to the first person that gave it to you because they didn't fill it out right. Well, how are we supposed to know that? So this went on for a while, us going down there, having to do that. We didn't get introduced to a wounded warrior until way down the road. Her name is Kathy, and she informed us we shouldn't have been doing that. One of the times Travis was so tired and worked up, he had a seizure, and I had to take him to Taco Bell, give him medication to be out of the seizure, to go back to base again. It doesn't seem like they really have your back, which I always was told in military, they always have your back. I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like everybody was out for themselves. They did their job. One thing that blew me away is if 11 o'clock rolled around and all these lines of people, everybody would put their pencils down and walk away and go to lunch till 1 o'clock. I'm like, are you kidding me? You people just leave with all these people here? I know you guys have to eat lunch, stagger them out like other places do. I get tired of the mentality, it's the government, they lose your medical forms. Nobody communicates with each other. Everybody does their own thing. It's like you have an office next door to someone, you can't even communicate with that person. So we had to get your brother involved, Chris Turner, who's an investigative reporter. The morning of your surgery, Tricare was not going to authorize it. Brother had to call Congressman Kilday's office, talk to Lucina Manwaring, who I guess is the one that handles all the military information. And something Christopher did not tell me at the time was Lucina told Christopher that they weren't going to do anything to help you unless you were able to go back into service. And that's when Christopher said, here's my name, this is what I do, look me up. And she called him back within minutes, which to me is pathetic. I mean, he has my insurance. he could have used that. But the thing is this happened during active time. Also, too, I'm not so sure that Travis wasn't exposed to radiation, because the 2 neurosurgeons we saw both said his tumor looks like it was due to radiation. Asked me if he ever had radiation. No, he's never had radiation. He was very healthy, and that's when I came home and Googled people in the Air Force with brain tumors. And it's actually quite a bit online about that. We did have one neurosurgeon tell us about people in Japan that were exposed to radiation have weird tumors. Something now that's being studied worldwide, because Travis's tumor is one in the world. Getting benefits, whether it's through the military, any branch, or the VA, is very, very hard to receive. You have to fill out numerous forms, and then the forms have to be filled out just so. Basically, you need an attorney to figure out how to fill out the form. Your brother, Chris Turner, who's the investigative reporter, when he had a month off in between jobs, he spent all day filling out forms and calling people. We would have to call the Wounded Warrior lady numerous times to help us figure out forms. So for military people or veterans to get what benefits they're entitled to, it is next to impossible for them to get it. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there walking around not even know they have benefits coming to them. They need somebody to help them do it, because it's too daunting, it's too overwhelming, it's too much information. So somebody that's had brain surgery, there's no way. They're not going to be able to figure this out, let alone the family. We're not military people. Even the people in the military can't figure it out. Half the time they give you the wrong information. And the same with the VA. So we always have to revert back to the Wounded Warrior lady to make sure we are given right information, but half the time we're given wrong information. The meeting we had was pathetic that we even had to have it, because you can't get, I'll just give you an example, was your travel card that needs to be paid off. And we had one sergeant tell us need medical records, but lo and behold, when we were in that meeting, you didn't need any. And then, they're always changing their story, saying, we did this, we didn't do this. Well, we don't even know what we should or should not be doing. And basically, it was like, just give me the card and I'll pay it off myself. Till this day, the card is still not paid off. It could potentially ruin Travis's credit. They don't talk to each other. They don't communicate. So you have to keep on talking to people higher and higher and higher up, which is pathetic. If these people knew they were going to lose their jobs, be reprimanded like you would in a real job, they might do their jobs. So I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. It's just pathetic that they cannot just do their job. And you've got to hound them and hound them, hound them to get anything done.
How many veterans must go through what my family had to endure? As if dealing with a brain tumor was not enough. But we had to fight the Air Force for my benefits, which I'm currently receiving, but in 2 years that could all change, because the VA could re-rate myself. The injury I concurred I will have for a lifetime. The hardest thing to do is try to live a normal life, because dealing with the Air Force, Veteran Affairs, Social Security Disability, and going to school full-time, it's like having 4 full-time jobs. When will the Veteran Affairs just leave me alone? Probably never. But if this is a life I must endure, I will go out fighting for everything I should receive.